Veteran Rockers. It's more than just music. It's more than just a couple of chords. It's something that speaks to your heart, speaks to your mind, speaks to your inner soul. It's something that gets you through a bad day. Think of the songs that have gotten you through rough breakups. It's an experience. And let's go deeper.
Here's your host, Mike Fox.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Veteran Rockers. I'm your host, Mike Fox. You may be asking yourself, why is this episode titled The New Episode 1? What happened to the other ones? Or you might be discovering this podcast for the first time. Whether you're watching on YouTube, that's right, because you can watch the podcast, or if you're listening on any podcasting platform. I'll explain that in a bit. But first I want to talk about, since this is the new first episode 1, what is a veteran rocker? Because it's easy to think that, okay, maybe I'm talking about rock and rollers that may have also served our country. Like Elvis Presley, for instance. Well, the reason I call it veteran rockers is actually because look at the word veteran. In fact, I'm going to just look it up real quick. I'm actually doing it as we speak. A person who has had long experience in a particular field. So usually we're thinking about in terms of military. But it's a very respectful term when it's used in that context. Well, I feel that it should be used in that context, even for rock and roll. That reminds me of a very, very funny thing that Ray Davies said when he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with the Kinks, when the Kinks were inducted. And he said it's nice that rock and roll is seen as something respectful. And then everyone cheered it, and then he said, well, that's a disappointment. I'm paraphrasing, of course. I don't have the actual quote in front of me. But the idea is that's a veteran rocker right there. That whole band, the Kinks. They were veteran rockers back then in 1990 when they accepted that induction. So that's why I call the show Veteran Rockers, because we're celebrating rockers that have been around for a long time, continue to make contributions, continue to make new music, or if they're not with us anymore, I'm going to play their music. That's right, play their music. Yes, you did hear right, on the podcast. However, you're not going to hear the songs on every major podcasting platform. If you're listening on Spotify, you used to on the original Veteran Rocker show that I had, but you're not going to be able to hear it now. But if you're listening on Mixcloud, check out Mixcloud.com. Or if you just click on the link in the show description, show notes below, you'll be able to listen to a Mixcloud version of this episode, which will include music for all episodes of Veteran Rockers going forward. All right, so now I'm going to get into why this episode is called the New Episode 1. Okay? It's called the New Episode 1 because I had to rebrand, rethink, reimagine the podcast. I did not want to continue doing Veteran Rockers if I was not going to be able to play the music. Let me read you this email here. Beginning June 2024, we are discontinuing Spotify for Podcasters' proprietary creation capabilities as we refocus our attention on building the next generation of podcast tools. Specifically, the following features from Spotify for Podcasters will no longer be available for use. Web recording and editing, mobile recording and editing, music plus talk. Now, even though the next paragraph goes on to say that no changes will be made to already published episodes, it would not make sense if I kept those already published episodes on because I announced that this next song is by this artist. So I decided it was time to start fresh. But how? Well, thanks to Mixcloud, I could play the music. But here's some changes you need to be aware of. You will not hear music if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, if you're watching on YouTube. okay, because of copyright laws. You cannot play copyrighted music on a podcast without permission. That's right. You have to have permission from the artist, or you have to have a certain music license. I don't know the actual technicalities, but I just know that you cannot do that. So if you're a prospective podcaster and you decide, I want to play music on my show, you could do on the PodSafe directory.
What is the PodSafe directory? Well, are you familiar with the World Podcast Network?
Hosted by none other than the amazing
Bruce Chamoff.
The Worldcast. That's a new term I should come up with. Worldcast podcast. No, the World Podcast Network. You can find that online. Worldpodcast.network. Okay, that's their website. And it is basically owned by Bruce Chamoff, who is a podcaster and musician himself. If you go on that website, PodSafe directory, you could play these songs, okay, on their website. I'm looking at it right now. And a bunch of great songs come up. And the nice thing is you can play them without worry about your episode being taken down or flagged for copyrighted content. You're good to go there. Now, these are indie artists like myself. I'm an indie artist. I'm an indie rocker. Bruce Chamoff, too. So we want to promote our music.
And by the way, today is Bruce Chamoff's birthday. Happy birthday, Bruce. And by the way, if you are one of Bruce Chamoff's podcast followers or music followers, any place you can leave a comment, whether it's on his podcast feed, on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and say, happy birthday, Bruce. Mike Fox reminded me.
But as for Billy Joel, okay, who I'm going to play his latest song, first song in 31 years at the end of this episode. But again, you're only going to hear it on Mixcloud. Now, let me explain what Mixcloud is, too. Mixcloud is absolutely amazing. Mixcloud saved this podcast because you can use Mixcloud to play any music you like. I am putting the episodes with music on that platform. The way I used to do Veteran Rockers. Please do me a favor and click on the link in the show description if you want to hear the music on the episodes going forward, and subscribe. Subscribe on Mixcloud. Download the Mixcloud app. Another thing that's great about Mixcloud, unlike streaming services that play you compressed audio, on Mixcloud, the curators, including myself, we play music that's uncompressed, some of it. Some of them are MP3s, I'll admit. But that brings me to Veteran Rockers Radio. What is Veteran Rockers Radio? Well, it's on Mixcloud. So if you click on that link below, it's also going to take you to my Mixcloud channel. And you can see all the content that I got there, including Veteran Rockers Radio. I have 2 turntables. So let me just give you a little tour here. All right, for those of you watching on YouTube. Just like Beck, there's 2 turntables here. And, of course, the obvious, a microphone. So, yeah, I spin vinyl on that show. Most of it is vinyl. Some of it's compact disc. But vinyl is my first love.
I've been collecting vinyl since 2005, and
I ended up upgrading to a different turntable, and now I have 2. And the most recent one I got was an Audio-Technica, and it's absolutely amazing. The other one's a Musitrend. It does do very well. The nice thing about that unit is it has a tape deck, so I could play tapes on the show if I wanted to. I don't think I still have any tapes, but they're making a comeback, or have made a comeback, I should say. You will find them at some record stores now, them selling tapes again. So, yeah, so this is the new Veteran Rockers, and I am excited to be back podcasting again. And so these are my plans for the show. Okay, so I want to get some rock and rollers on the show. I would love to get prolific rockers, but I need to grow a little bit more before I get to that point. So there are some people I do plan on bringing on here. Now, I also don't focus just on veteran rockers that everybody already knows who they are. I'm also going to play music from veteran indie rockers or indie veteran rockers. Bruce Chamoff is a very good friend of mine. He hosts the World Podcast Network, as I said, and then he also has his own podcast. Become a successful podcaster with Bruce Chamoff. But Bruce is absolutely amazing. We're good friends. He produced my song Strong. I have a brand new album out. That was another reason that I took a break from podcasting. And now I'm back. So anyway, if you're listening on Mixcloud, you're going to get to hear the new song by Billy Joel. But then again, you may have already heard it. That's okay. So you can listen to the show however way you want to. If you just want the information, then whatever format you're listening from, enjoy it, okay? Please leave any comments, show some love. I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram, instagram.com/veteranrockers, instagram.com/MikeFoxArtist as well. So you can follow me on either of those social accounts, also on Facebook, or as they say in Ireland, Facebook.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Veteran Rockers. Please like, rate, review, and share this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to Veteran Rockers on your preferred podcasting app and subscribe to my Veteran Rockers channel on Mixcloud, where you can not only hear my radio show called Veteran Rockers Radio, but you can also hear this same episode that you just listened to with music. And follow Veteran Rockers on all major social media platforms, Facebook, X, and Instagram. Keep rock alive, because after all, it's a wild world and rock and roll never dies.